and they're off.
What I wake up shouting it in my sleep, but here we go. Further Faster, the best independently owned outdoor store in the known universe. Whether you are heading out on climbing, paddling, tramping or running adventures, look no further than Further Faster for all your gear and expertise needs over the summer and fall. Head to 57A Buchan Street, Sydenham, Otutahi, Christchurch, or hit them up at furtherfaster.co.nz. Just something like Further Faster, they're in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to Further Faster now.
Oh, Further Faster, they're in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to Further Faster now.
Dirt Church Radio.
Episode 314 of the Dirt Church Radio Trail and Ultra Marathon podcast. I'm Matt Raymond.
And I'm Ali Pottinger.
How you going, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good.
How was your week post Tarawera? I bet it was all sun lounges and leisurely brunches for you, around your whare.
That would be the dream, wouldn't it? What it actually is a lot of emails in the inbox, two very sleep-deprived humans, add in a sick toddler who didn't actually let me get to sleep Sunday or Monday night, and then I got sick. So it's been a week. Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, it's been a week, eh? I took the week off, which was really nice. So I kind of played it smart and had the week off work because I would have been no use to anyone. And it has been a bit of a funny one. You know, I do feel rested. There have been some psychological ups and downs in the week, but not been too bad. And just sort of going back and thinking about if I had my time again, what would I have done differently? What would I have done? You know, to perhaps manage or just do some stuff, change some stuff up. So it's a funny thing, but like, I mean, I would, I'd have another crack tomorrow if you let me. You know, I'm in that space, so just looking forward. I've had a couple of runs.
Yeah.
Body feels really, really good. Mind feels really, really good, and just like. Out the back of the forest on trails that you could only describe as being really playful. So just
fun.
A really nice old school, you know, single track, quite technical in places, and just having fun. So looking forward to getting back into a bit more routine, getting back to the gym. But yeah, that's where I'm sitting.
It sounds like a healthy week and a good way to kind of bring that playful and that joy back into your running again and kind of dial back into why you do it.
Yeah, that's always really, I think that's really important now for all of us. It's that thing of that essence of running is one of the things that's super important for me. Is it makes me feel younger and playful, and like ripping around on single track is super fun, and running down hills is super fun. So
yeah,
you know,
so alive.
Yeah. Go do more of that. Look, we, keeping the Tarawera boat afloat for at least another week. Just to tell you about what's on this week. This week, Andrew and I spoke to on-athlete and third-place male at the Tarawera Ultra Trail 102, Adrian MacDonald. So you might know Adrian from 2024 when he won the T Miler, and he was back this year for one of those annoyingly sized golden tickets, which, spoiler alert, he achieved. He did. He got a golden ticket to Western States. Super interesting chat because Adrian's road to Tarawera ultimately started on the track, and it wasn't until the pandemic that he considered moving to the trails as his goal events had all been cancelled. Super interesting guy, super interesting chat, super thoughtful chat. He talks about winning Leadville twice and what that means, his journey in running. We even talk about doping in the sport, and his greatest run ever is spectacular. But first, there was another, and keeping in the sort of Aotearoa calendar being as stacked as it is, Old Ghost Ultra this weekend. You didn't make it down, but you planned to.
I would like to. Normally I have a really cool job charlieing, and I just absolutely love being out there, but not this year, hopefully next year. But I was watching it. I was on the live feed constantly, just checking in with how everyone was going and soaking up the Old Ghost Ultra vibes. And there was some racing too, like because I was watching it kind of unfold. I saw Nikki Everton on the live feed, and at Ghost Lake, her and Katie Smith were neck and neck.
Wow.
Unfortunately for Nikki, though, she sent me, like, have you heard people slide into your DMs with unsolicited blister pics?
No.
I do. And
I guess
not
of
a
all the
nurse.
unsolicited pics you could get, that's those are pretty good ones.
Well, I was like, Nikki, please don't send me that. She had a blister the size of the whole of the heel of her foot. It was insane. Anyway, let's go to the chat about the podium. So the Kate Loy, she had just an absolutely blistering run. So she was the first woman home. I believe it was 8 hours 10, which is so fast. 8:11 on the clock. And then Katie Smith, second place, 8:47. And third place, Nikki Everton, 8:54. So some really fast times, like keeping in mind it's kind of 85K of gnarly trails. And then in the men's race, good old David. King David, we dubbed him when he lived in Rotorua because he just came and took all the crowns. He won it in a time of 7:16. Oh. Cam Holden, second place, 7:31. Pretty slick for Cam. And is it?
It's Huel.
I don't know. Huel, it is Huel.
Yep.
Dinnick. So third place, a time of 7:33. So pretty close racing there for those guys. Well, for second and third anyway. Yeah.
And of course, by David, we mean Dr. David Houndschmidt.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Houndschmidt, I know. I mean, he's quite a ubiquitous figure in Aotearoa trail racing and known New Zealand trail running as the Flying Doctor, and he certainly is the Flying Doctor. I mean, that's quite the ding dong between second and third, isn't it? Like less than 2 minutes, but
Yeah.
a good old sort of 15-minute gap between first and second is quite a bit.
It's pretty big.
And we have, with Dirt Church Radio, Old Ghost Ultra, we've had Phil Roster on the show. Certainly it's so many people's bucket list run or something that they just speak of the magic. What is it that makes it so special?
Oh, how long have you got, Matt? I think it's that real West Coast grit and love for the land and the people and that kind of communities, because they spent over 120,000 man-hours building the trail. And there's photos of them wearing cricket pads and cricket helmets, like tied to rock faces blasting granite. So they've camped out in some rugged West Coast weather many weekends to try and build this trail as a team. And now a team that were heavily involved with it put the race on, and they just love it. And it brings out all the people from their community too. Like, you'll see so many people from Westport and the West Coast running it. And I just think it's done amazing things for their community as a whole, as well as it's just absolutely beautiful, like a really diverse trail, and just the little touches and love that go into it just really shine through. So yeah, that's part of the special sauce of Old Ghost Ultra.
One day we will get there.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely got to.
Yeah, right. Look, before we get into our interview with Adrian MacDonald, we should return to our normal programming and crack into this.
It's the greatest run ever. It's the greatest run ever.
Greatest Run Ever, which is brought to you by Squad Run. Give their 4-week special coaching trial a go. Don't know if you've heard of them. You can find them on the link on the website, which is dirtchurchradio.com. This is the part of the show where we ask you to write into us and tell us your greatest run ever. It doesn't have to be a race or a mountain summit. Might just be a run around the block, something that sung to you for some reason. Send it into us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. And this is from Laura Crossan. And she says, I don't remember the exact date of my greatest run ever, but I remember the feeling. I was 9 years old on a warm summer morning, the sun casting a golden glow on the streets of my hometown, with my dad by my side, our feet pounding the pavement, the rhythmic sound of our steps echoing in the quiet morning air. We were hunting down the father and son duo in front of us, once again participating in the town's 5K fun run series. Dad had made sure to keep the pace steady in the beginning so we would always have a kick at the end and pass those that went out too fast. This would amusingly result in several photos of us in the local paper, with me always one stride ahead. Was this race that sticks so vividly in my mind the last time we ran together, or just a blend of the many runs we completed? It's funny how an activity that was a core part of my childhood has blurred in my memory. What I do know is these sessions ignited my running fire. It must have been my dad's idea to take his enthusiastic daughter for runs to burn off some energy. We would train at the local school track, and I'm pretty sure that I talked to him at least the entire time. He didn't have too many insights to add to my fascinating 30-minute monologues on the horses I would buy when I was older. Running side by side, Dad would use these runs to instill some life lessons, even when I thought he was just talking about running. Things like run your own race, a little bit of constant pressure turns coal into diamonds, and nothing worth having comes easy. Every run was a new adventure filled with laughter, determination, and the unspoken bond between a father and his daughter. Since these days, running has brought me so much. Travel, adventure, community, belonging, peace, and the ability to chase goals I could hardly have dreamed of. Most of all, every time I lace up my shoes, I take my father with me. Even though we live an ocean apart, I feel closer to him whenever I'm out there. Thank you, Dad, for this gift you've given me. Thank you for obsessively following my race trackers when I run. Thank you for always showing up and being proud, no matter the results. Thank you, Dad, for this gift you've given me. Every race, every step is a testament to the lessons you taught me and the love we share. No matter where my life takes me, I carry you with me stride by stride. Laura.
That one made me cry because I know Laura, and she actually just finished the miler. She's an amazingly strong runner and a mum of a young toddler, and to be kind of far from home, but the way that she kind of acknowledges and takes her dad with her is so special.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's and I mean, for me, reading this, being the father of two daughters who both run now. Lily runs. I went for a trail run with Lily yesterday, and it's a real privilege. It's such a privilege. It's there's a massive responsibility to get it right. And to make it. And it's one of the best things. One of the best things ever. But look, thank you, Laura. That was amazing. Certainly, some of these runs, these greatest runs ever, they do really hit you in the fields. But look, if you want to make either Ellie, myself, or Andrew cry, special points if you can make that guy cry. Please write into us. dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. Send in your greatest run ever, and we do stick them up on the websites too. Right, without further ado or delay, we should crack into the conversation that Andrew McDowell and I had with the mighty Adrian MacDonald. Kia ora koutou. We've got a special treat for you today on Dirt Church Radio. Adrian MacDonald, welcome to the podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm over my jet lag and back to winter here in Colorado.
I was going to ask, you had a big week of travel, right? Like, when did you fly into New Zealand?
So I flew over, I think I arrived on the 3rd, spent a couple days in Auckland and then headed down to Rotorua. Yeah, and then I flew back on Monday.
Okay, be honest, what did you think of Auckland?
So there was, I was sort of I forget the name of the neighborhood, but it was like south of Auckland. And I got out to, is it the Whānau Regional Park. So I did a couple of runs there. That was really nice.
They're pretty techie, those trails, aren't they?
Yeah, I did one, and it was like my second day there, and I was still a little jet lagged, and I was not expecting it to take like 2.5 hours. But then I had the roads there were pretty similar to the roads we ran on in the race. So I did a nice fast speed work there.
I think that's your experience is fairly common. People who go to the Whānau Ranges, they say, I didn't expect that would take that long to go that far. And I mean, God, if it took you 2.5 hours, I can't imagine how it would take us regular folks. I mean, this was your second time coming down to race at Tarawera Ultra Trail, and apart from the distance change, how did this year compare to last?
So this year there was a bit more pressure with the golden tickets on the line, but also sort of there was like more pressure for that, but I feel like less like individual. Like last year, I really felt like I had to win the race because I was like favored to do it. This year there was like sort of bigger stakes, but sort of more room for error because I knew like top three would likely get the golden tickets to Western States. So like I wanted to beat Dan, but I also knew that I didn't really need to worry about him if he took off like he actually ended up doing.
Can you just going back to last year's 100-mile battle with Sam Harvey? That I understand that was quite a ding dong. Like you really had to work hard to stay ahead of him. You appreciated the effort, if you know what I mean. Like having to work that hard, you actually quite enjoyed that, didn't you?
Yeah, so he and a bunch of the other guys in that field, they took off at the start. I let them go, and then I caught them at 50K. And usually when you like catch someone and blow by them, like that's the last you ever see of them. And then must have been like 60K into the race. We were heading towards the boat crossing, and I turn around and there's Sam Harvey, and he's singing. It was just after Toby Keith had died, and he was singing Red Solo Cup.
Oh my goodness.
And he like caught up to me, got on the boat. He was like
Same boat as you?
Yeah, same boat.
Right.
Which was like pretty clever of him. And he was doing selfies or live Instagram story or something like that. And we got off the boat, ran a little bit together, and this was on the Tarawera Trail.
Yeah.
And I dropped him, and then a couple of miles later, he came back. And I was just like, I can't get rid of this guy. And then I dropped him again over Okatana on the way out. And then I heard I had 15 minutes lead on him, and that he had, and it was Mike too, Mike Carroll.
That's right.
He
Mike
cut it
was
to
there.
6 minutes. And that's when, I really had to like dig deep around Blue Lake. Eventually I beat him by half an hour, but it was so great to have someone pushing me like that and always having to keep running hard the whole way.
And must be really satisfying too, knowing that when you needed that extra burst and when you needed the extra juice, you actually were able to do it. Just on a personal level, that must have felt pretty good.
Yeah, and it's like something that now I like have in my head. Like I know that if I'm 80 miles into a 100-mile race, I can still run really hard.
That's awesome.
And I ended up like falling back on that at Leadville this past summer, and then it was a little different in 100K, but I was definitely thinking about it.
And speaking of the 100K, so this year you've clipped your ticket, which is incredibly exciting. And this is your first Western States?
Yep.
Obviously, plans now shift to that. And what does that look like? You've got, you know that you're strong over 100 miles. You know that the last 60 Ks of Western States is, it's so important to have good legs because it's so runnable and it's so quick. I think that's going to suit you really well. What does your training look like in your build-up towards Western?
Yeah, well, I'm still sort of, I'm taking this whole week completely off, and then I'll do 3 or 4 weeks sort of building back up, and then it'll be a 14 or 15 week build to Western States, which was the end of June. I don't like to run ultras generally don't run other ultras, but I'll do some shorter races. Like leading into Tarawera this year, I did a 10K cross country and half marathon on the roads.
Oh, wow.
I'll probably try and do a couple of shorter trail races. There's just not much in the winter here.
What was your half marathon time?
I ran 68 minutes.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That was the first thing. We were at the Porphyry. That's the first thing Sam said to Adrian when he came up to him, shook his hand and went, "Oh, I saw your half marathon time." It is known. Hey, look, you grew up in Massachusetts, and I know I'm the odd one out in this virtual room who hasn't been to Massachusetts. But
yeah, get with the program, Matt.
Yeah, I know. What have I been doing with my whole life? What spurred you to move out to Colorado?
So one was my ex-girlfriend. She grew up in Fort Collins, where I live now, and I've been here 8.5 years. But I was ready for a change and to sort of get somewhere where the running was even better. Boston's as for a big city, it's like it's got a great running community, tons of races, tons of clubs, lots of like sort of like-minded people. But yeah, I was like really looking forward to getting into the mountains. I was still a road runner at the time, so I didn't even really, it wasn't to sort of run ultras or run trails or anything, just to sort of run on dirt roads and at high elevation.
The Boston landscape's fairly flat, isn't it? I suppose with the exception of Heartbreak Hill. It's a fairly flat city, not a huge amount of mountains there, is there?
No, it's sort of just rolling hills. I mean, for where I live now, Fort Collins is super flat in town, but then we have the mountains just a few miles to the west.
But I guess you're at elevation, aren't you? Even if it is flat, you're pretty high up in the air.
Yeah, we're at 5,000 feet, 1,500 meters, I guess, a little over.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you a Sam Adams beer fan? Have you sort of brought some of that Boston culture over with you?
Sam Adams was the first beer I ever had.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Hey, what was your sort of growing up in Massachusetts? What was your, I mean, like, again, we were talking off mic and you were saying, you and Andrew were saying that it gets, sort of minus 30 degrees, wind chill, pretty brutal in the winter, which would, I guess, periodize your sporting endeavors. What was your first taste of running? What got you into the sport?
So I entered high school and I wanted to be sort of the all-American boy running or playing football in the fall, basketball in the winter, baseball in the spring. But the problem was I was less than 5 feet tall as a freshman in high school. Yeah, I still played in like the youth football. This is American football, the youth football league, so not even high school. And then I played on the freshman basketball team and made one basket the whole year, and then got cut from baseball. So then the next year I switched to soccer, and the soccer coach was also the indoor track coach. And so if you weren't playing basketball or another winter sport, it was sort of expected that you'd go out for indoor track. And I pretty much immediately fell in love with the sort of self-improvement aspect of running, which really happens a lot when you first start.
The bug is beautiful when you catch it for the first time.
Yeah.
What position did you play at football? Oh, sorry, soccer.
In soccer, I was a sort of outside midfielder.
Oh, yeah.
I was that's like the runner's spot. So
Did you get to play that for a while?
I played, 1 year junior varsity and then varsity soccer my last 2 years. And I was okay. I'm always sort of curious because I improved in running so much in college. If I had played soccer for 4 more years, how I would have done. But
Yeah, that's all right. Running's worked out okay.
yeah, it was okay. Our team was okay, but it was a lot of fun.
Now you're in Colorado, of course. You have some of the greatest races on earth on your doorstep, or at least near enough to your doorstep. Obviously, you did Leadville, was that last year?
Yeah, I did Leadville 3 times, so 2021, 22, and then this past summer in 2024.
So Adrian won it in 21 and 22.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, Matt. Do your research, Andrew. How much did you enjoy watching David Roche tear it up in the last edition?
I did not enjoy it.
That was quite
I
something.
was there behind him.
Yeah. And you had, was it Nick Clark pacing you?
No, the first 2 Leadvilles, Nick paced me.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to come this past year. But yeah, Nick, he lives here in Fort Collins, and he's sort of been a mentor of mine as I've gotten into ultra trail.
Because I guess that sort of throws back to, before running was even widely accessible on the internet, and people like Andrew and I were passing around like pirated copies of DVD copies of Unbroken. There were Nick Clark was a legend. Ian Sharman, Nick Clark associated with, and obviously Anton Krupicka associated with Leadville. Hey, of like that real, almost like what we would consider a golden age of running. How did you make that link with Nick?
So when I first moved to Fort Collins, Nick was leading in the winter a run along the dams of the Horsetooth Reservoir. That's sort of the road that I use. It's really good for Tarawera training because they clear it if it snows in the winter, and the elevation gain and loss is pretty close to what you see at Tarawera. But Nick was leading a run starting at 6 a.m. every Thursday morning. A lot of the trail runners would do it to sort of get their vert in when the trails were all snowy and icy. And so I showed up to that and met Nick. And then we sort of got closer as I entered into the trail running world over COVID. And he was the one, I told him a year before I ran my first Leadville, I had never run an ultra. And I said, hey, Nick, I want to run Leadville 100 next summer. And his immediate response was, why would you want to do that?
You probably hear that a lot from a lot of people.
And so then, a year later, Nick's pacing me, I'm winning the race. And I say, hey, you remember when you asked me why I wanted to do this? Well, this is why.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool too that it's I love it. It's that kind of bridge stuff. With that, like you've talked about it, it's in your bio around you moved to Fort Collins as a road runner, gravel roads, elevation, big hills to get faster and faster. And what got you out onto the trails?
So it was a lot of it was the COVID pandemic. I was training for the Boston Marathon in the spring of 2020 and it got canceled and I was really fit. It would have been mid-March, so within like a month or so of the race, and I wanted to do something with my fitness. All the races were canceled, so I targeted an FKT in Horsetooth Mountain Park, which is our local trail system. And it was a 3.5 mile climb, 1,700 feet. So what's that, 500 or 600 meters?
Yeah. 6K.
About a half hour is what it takes. I started training to do that, and I discovered I love running on trails, that I could handle the elevation gain and loss in addition to the mileage. So that was really it. I ended up missing the fastest time by a second. And then, so I did have the Strava segment for a few days, but not the actual FKT, which was off Strava. And then Justin Grunwald and Amanda, they came into town and smashed I think he knocked a minute off of it. So I never got it.
It's always when they take a huge chunk. When someone comes along and doesn't just beat it by a second or two and they smash it, you sort of lose interest pretty quickly, don't you? I'll just let them have that one. What's that winter training like? Like, obviously, it's something we don't really have to think about here in sunny Auckland. But, I mean, there's big parts of winter when all of your trails are just covered in snow, and even the roads you can't even run on the roads. You're saying you've got, the roads you ran with Nick were cleared. Does that mean there's a lot of treadmill time, or can you still sort of get out and get your training done properly?
Yeah, so I've only run on the treadmill once since I moved to Colorado.
Good news.
They say we have 300 days of sunshine, so we'll get snow, but then the next day or the day after it'll be sunny and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So it usually melts pretty quickly, especially from the roads. So it really just is being flexible, and very lucky to have that road along the reservoir that they do clear it right away. So you can, if it snows in the morning, you can run in the afternoon on it and it's clear and pretty hilly. Yeah, just sort of getting used to it and accepting that it's going to be cold and being flexible and thinking that it's much better than Boston. In Boston, I used to run on they have tons of indoor tracks, which is great. And I used to, training for marathons, do 10-mile, 15K tempo runs on an indoor track, which is like 80 laps.
It's only 200 meters, isn't it? So you're just, twice it.
So it's better than that.
In those winters in Boston, I just remember how absolutely brutal they were, and how you really had to plan your your days around the weather.
Yeah.
And the ice and the snow and that wind chill. I think, yeah, minus 35 it sometimes got to. It was, that's not great training weather, is it?
No.
Just looking at some of your notable results, your victories. You got Leadville twice, Tarawera, obviously you won the Team Isla, Ultra Kosciuszko, Spigot 50, 2019, 2021 Mount Evans Ascent, and I'm just wondering, is there any that, and not to take away from any achievement because they're all special, but is there any that sort of stand out for you as being special?
The first Leadville will always be the most special. When someone say, what was the best day of your life? That's what I've been telling people recently. It was just so unexpected. I knew I was going to do well, but I was not expecting to win that race and run as fast as I did. And it was truly life-changing.
Did you lead from the front in that race? Did you have to work your way through? How did it play out?
That one, yeah, I was just sort of doing my own thing, wanting to, not really paying attention to the competition. And then Twin Lakes, which is 60K in right before you go up Hope Pass for the first time.
Yeah.
I found myself in third place, and I had leading up to that point all these GI issues, and I just kept having to step off the trail and then getting back on, so I didn't know really where anyone was in the race. And then I get to the aid station there, find out I'm in third, and I can see second up ahead, and he's struggling. And so I went up Hope Pass thinking, wow, I'm in second place, and then I dropped down and I pass the leader and go into first, and then it was like,
this is on.
holy cow!
That was about halfway before the turnaround, was it?
Yeah,
far out.
Yeah, and then we hit the turnaround, and I see Ian Sharman, Anton, and they looked really good, and I was a little bit worried about that.
Oh, those boys are chasing you now. You're the hunted.
Well, that was the podium, wasn't it? It was
no, Matt Flaherty.
Matt Flaherty.
He came through hard and ended up second. Anton was third. Everyone was cheering for Anton and wanting him to have his big comeback, and I sort of spoiled it. But
no pressure.
I thought it was pretty impressive how he ran that day after everything he'd been through.
I mean, I guess we could pivot to that because you got the. That was this, and not to take anything away from him, but his, not claim to fame, but that story of those sort of back-to-back 300-mile weeks, all that stuff, the volume, the sheer intensity of the training, and then sort of coincidentally or not, suffering from ongoing to this day injuries, which kind of limit his volume with running and have forced a, but doesn't. I mean, it looks like he's having a ton of fun what he's doing, but it's definitely sort of changed trajectory for him. How do you think, and where do you think it seems? Sorry, this is a long lead in. It seems like we're sort of in that point where we're at almost like the higher echelons of the sport are really kind of leaning on that kind of 1% stuff in these races. So it's not just about like smashing out a ton of volume or, and I'm even thinking about down to the crewing, the F1 pit stop crews that we've got now, nutrition. How far off the peak of performance in trail and ultra do you think we are?
That's a good question. One of the things that I've been working on, like now that I've sort of entering my 5th year of ultra running now, and like getting back to the progression you see when you first start something, I sort of feel like what I can do now is like marginal gains. So I've started working with a nutritionist and working with sports psych, things like that. So that's how I'm sort of trying to get those last few marginal gains. In general, I don't know, people are always wondering, could a 2:03 marathoner come over and crush these ultras? And I don't know, I think some of them probably could, but could they run much faster than what we're all doing? I don't know. It's all,
Yeah, I mean, you guys are already running, 68, was it? 67, 68-minute halves. And I know some of the big dogs will go run a marathon in, 2:10, 2:11. That's some of the ultra guys. They're not, I mean, how much is 10 minutes? Maybe Kipchoge will give it a go sometime in the next couple of years and we can all answer the question.
yeah.
I guess it also comes down to the desire to do it. I remember listening to something with Darren and Finn, and because there was that talk, right? Like, if we just get a bunch of Kenyans and stick them in Colorado, holy moly, all the records are going to fail. And these guys are like, why would I, in my wildest dreams, ever want to destroy my body?
Yeah.
And it's linked to virility too, like lower my testosterone and do all those things to do an ultramarathon. And they're just like, no, I'm not going to.
Wait, what happens?
So there's a belief, Darren and Finn was talking about, there's this belief amongst these guys that the longer that you run, it kind of can sort of, and I'm not sure if it's borne out scientifically, it's sort of sap your virility a little bit. So they're all like, no, we're good, thanks. We'll stick to it.
Yeah. Yeah, another sort of along those same lines, I don't think you can run 100 miles just to sort of chase a paycheck. Like, there has to be, like, you have to want to sort of really test your limits. And it's similar with a marathon, but I think it's even more so with ultra marathons.
I guess, I mean, and there will be a point, I guess it depends on the paycheck.
Yeah.
Too, for some people, and not for everyone, right? But like for some
Yeah.
people, if you said, here's a $200,000, you're going to get $200,000 if you win Western States. You're going to get some people.
Presumably, I mean, do we want that, Adrian? Do we want heaps of money in our sport?
I don't know.
No pressure.
It's
a tricky one, right? Because
yeah.
this is, you can win this money, right? You're good enough. You're up there. So it's a difficult decision, isn't it? But it would change the face of the sport.
Yeah, what concerns me most is the lack of drug testing. Like, I just won a golden ticket at Tarawera, and that's like worth a decent amount of money. Like, if someone else, like if you're unsponsored and you do that, you get a sponsorship, which is worth thousands of dollars. And
It's true. Yeah, so even though there's no prize money, there is still a very strong financial incentive as a sponsored athlete.
Right. Yeah.
If we're moving then from and if you don't mind, you talked about that sort of intrinsic motivation, which is so important, right? Like, it's not the fact that I'm chasing a goal or a sponsorship or a purse. What is it that motivates you to complete these races or compete in these races?
I mean, I originally signed up for Leadville because I just wanted, one, I thought I had some ideas that I could be good at it, and two, I just wanted to see if I sort of like prove if that sort of thought that I had was true and if I could do it. And I mean, I went into that first race thinking that it might take me 30 hours.
Okay.
I didn't think it would. I thought I would be good, but I went in with the mindset I'm going to go finish this, get my Leadville belt buckle. I think I'm going to be good at it, but if not, I'm going to finish the race and then sort of reevaluate if this is something I want to do. So yeah, it's sort of just seeing what my body is capable of doing and chasing that self-improvement and that feeling you get when you do something that you never thought your body could do before, which is something that I've had. Like, I can list off the few moments when I've really felt that in my running career, and it's such a special feeling.
I'm just thinking, just your comment about the lack of drug testing. I mean, I'll only lightly touch on it because it's something that I think we want to have a proper conversation at some point about it on the podcast. But what can be done, I suppose, because this will become more and more of a problem as athletes get more professional and sponsorship deals get bigger and bigger and more exposure. I mean, the sport is just growing and growing. I understand one of the problems is the cost to do these tests at these big events. I don't know, does Tarawera do drug testing?
No,
none at all?
No.
Yeah, so it's, if people want to get away with it at the moment, apart from a couple, like I suppose UTMB and maybe Western, like if you avoid those ones, you can get away with it for a long time. Any thoughts on what can be done to sort of give us a little bit more confidence that these athletes are clean?
So just looking at other sports, like in cycling, I think the teams themselves contribute into like a fund that goes towards drug testing. So that's one model.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a little different with the way running is set up, where it's more of a sponsorship brand than a team.
But they're sort of forming teams now, aren't they?
Well, look
Yeah.
at there's certainly no burden of any. I'm not having defamation, people. You could argue that the first team that was set up in that kind of model as the pro cycling-esque team was the Salomon guys and girls when they're all in the tidy whities, like Greg Villet. And they looked like a pro cycling team.
Yeah.
And Greg Villet was a pro cyclist, right? So coming in and, so
This is around the 2010s.
Yeah.
Sort of around there,
yeah.
eh?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing I've thought, is that maybe the brands could buy into the drug testing. Another, I think in Ironman triathlon, the athletes, once you get a pro card or something, you contribute to the drug testing.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Like an annual fee as a pro.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's how it may work with that. And then another thing is they could just UTMB, like if you're ranked this or higher in the world on UTMB index, you're in the random drug testing pool. I guess I don't know.
Regardless of how you do at that particular race. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the sort of random out of competition testing that.
And I think it relates to affiliation to athletics bodies. I mean, we touched on this last time. It does kind of beg a belief a little bit in terms of the field that turns up for, say, a race like Tarawera in Aotearoa, New Zealand, that it's not the New Zealand athletics champs. It's not the trail champs. The trail champs was Y2K this year, which is awesome, right? Like grassroots race, really cool, really, really cool. But the people who turn up to that race to run Tarawera, the New Zealand athletes, there's a very, very deep field. So I wonder if it also comes down to the fact that Tarawera isn't affiliated with like Athletics New Zealand. So
Yeah.
that could also...
Yeah, and that'd be the same in the US, wouldn't it? You've got your proper US, what is it called? ATF?
USATF.
Yeah, events. But I can't imagine that any of the big 100-mile races are part of any of those. Is that right?
No, they're not. Yeah. Some of the USATF events are pretty big, and some of them sort of random, depending on if there's a world championship qualifier or not.
Yeah.
But there's a trail champs, isn't it? Was that in the news recently? Someone got bounced because of their stack height?
Oh yeah, that was road running 100 miles.
It was Raj, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 42 millimeters?
48.
48 instead of... I mean, surely that's on Hoka, right? What are you doing making a shoe that doesn't pass the standards? What are you guys up to, right?
I think there was a few years ago, I think he was an African marathoner for Adidas who had the same thing happen. He wore a shoe that Adidas had designed for training and not racing, and it was over the limit.
Maybe that's what happened here.
Yeah.
That'd be frustrating, but apparently he took it on the chin like a pro, and he's saying, no,
Yeah.
it's all right. I put my hand up.
Yeah, that's a long way to go to
Yeah,
get
to get a
DQ'd for that.
DQ. Oh, man. It's ridiculously fast regardless of the stack height. These guys are sub 12, wasn't it, for 100 miles? Oh.
And I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Is that sort of touching on that theme of those 1%ers, right? Like you could say to a citizen athlete, okay, I'm going to put you in this stack height. It's not going to gain you a 12-hour 100-mile on the road, But that's the thing, isn't it? It's every little thing when you're at that pinnacle. Is what I'm trying to say, Andrew. It's every little advantage perhaps counts.
Yeah.
Does that interest you, Adrian? With your your half marathon leg speed, something like a 100-mile flat, road or very tight gravel race. Does that sort of get you going?
The one that I want to do is Comrades Marathon.
Yes.
So that's the one that would get the road ultra that would get me most excited.
Can you get in as an elite, or do you have to do the lottery sort of system, ballot system like everyone else?
I haven't looked too much into it.
Yeah.
I think there are marathon qualifying times or...
Okay. Some of those leading times are just outrageous, aren't they?
Outrageous.
Yeah.
I remember when Walmsley got the 50-mile record, they pointed out that 5 or 6 of the top Comrades runners every year run through the 50 miles faster than that,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Everything about that race, from like soup to nuts, is just mind blowing.
Have you run it?
Me? No.
Yeah.
You, Andrew?
That's too much for me. There's too many people. I can't handle it.
Is that what stops you, Andrew? Is the people? Because I thought they'd be right up your, with your kind of your background, they'd be right up your alley.
Yeah, people definitely. 2,500 at UTMB was overwhelming, completely overwhelming. And it's okay once you've started, but I think it's just that whole thing. But that's a me problem. It's fine. I love the Western States field of 300 odd. That's definitely nice. You'll enjoy that part of it, Adrian. The whole build up to it. Have you been to one of the just hung out or paced anybody at Western?
No, I've never been out there. So
Ooh, yeah. You just soak it in that week that you get there, because there's a lot going on, but it's just such a beautiful part of the country. It is absolutely amazing. Highly recommend.
And you ran it last year? Is that?
I did finally. 8 years of lottery. Finally got in there. And it was they sort of say don't meet your heroes, and I was worried that Western States would be the hero not to meet, but actually it was better than I could have hoped as far as an experience goes. And the trails are incredible. I was so terrified of screwing it up that I went so easy that it made the rest of the race, that whole second half was really enjoyable. Had a great pacer, and coming around the corner to that track is even though it was 3 or 4 in the morning and there's nobody really there, doesn't matter. It's still super, super cool. You probably won't have that problem. You'll have a good crowd, but it doesn't matter. You just finish and you go, oh man, that was everything I hoped it could be and more. So you're in for a real treat.
Yeah, I can't wait.
On training, I mean, what does it look like, and how do you integrate it into your life? I mean, you are obviously a very highly performing runner, and this isn't your full-time gig, right? You do have a quote unquote day job. What are you, a morning person? Are you afternoon? Do you take breaks during the day, or what does it look like?
Usually my main training run is first thing in the morning, and then a few times a week I'll do a second run in the evening. Yeah, and my training is pretty similar to what I was doing when I was running marathons on the road. So 2 speed workouts a week, usually Tuesday and Friday, a long run on Saturday, and then just trying to get as much vert as I can on trails in between.
Weather dependent.
Yeah.
And you're a financial officer of a stats department.
Yeah.
I've got to say, that sounds very smart.
Oh, no, because I'm working for a bunch of people much smarter than I am.
Oh, right. They keep you honest.
The statisticians. So maybe I'm smart, but I don't feel smart.
Yeah, because you got, what is it, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, just thinking about that, and this is sort of thinking about the guys that win, guys and girls that win Barclay or finish Barclay and that sort of thing, they're all pretty smart cookies, and as in very high achievers in a quite, what often seems to be quite a scientific mathematical background. And it appears you're along the same lines there. Do you think that helps, or do you think there's some sort of correlation between that?
Well, one, I don't think I'm as smart as someone like John Kelly. He's a...
Have you fallen off a ladder while trying to fix a...
That did not look smart. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. Yeah.
Or Carl, he's a dentist. He must be pretty smart.
But there's a methodicalness to it, don't you think? That
Yeah.
like training as well as your execution on race day and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think so. And sort of being rational about things, and not like I sort of need, not as opposed to being like emotional about a race, I think is sort of similar to doing like accounting type work. Yeah, and I think a lot of people at the start of an ultra will sort of let their emotions get the best of them, and they'll zoom off.
I don't know
thinking
what
that
you're talking
today's
about.
Yeah.
Can't relate to that at all. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's maybe where it's sort of relatable to the desk job.
We spoke to Jasmine Paris last night, and I mean, she's a human being who won the spine race whilst breastfeeding, and then went to work on her PhD 2 days later. Like, was back at work on the Monday because they had a paper to submit. And I mean, I wonder about the stuff like you said about the rationality when it comes down to, it's something you said at the start. You missed that FKT by 1 second. Jasmine Paris was 99 seconds off cut off after Barclay, and you think about like just everything that adds up. Like what was it that took it? It couldn't have been leg speed that made that second. If it was a dead flat track, maybe, but like, or those 99 seconds. What if you'd done this, or what if you'd done? It's incredible to think how it all just builds on each other for the overall experience. Hey, I wonder if there is. And speaking as someone who works with people's feelings for a living, mine's the least quantifiable profession, I think, of most. It's like trying to nail fog to a wall most days. It is, right? Like,
is that what that feeling is that I feel before a race? Trying to know. When I look at some people's, their organised drop bags and everything all ready to go and that's to carry on, and I look at my own race prep or lack thereof, I always look at it and go, why can't my brain think like that? And it just looks like Lego boxes, everything's color coded and it looks amazing. Are you that sort of person, Adrian, before a race? Everything's absolutely dialed in?
So I think with some things I am, like, I know, like, I'm going to eat, like, this are the meals I'm going to eat all week.
All week, right?
Yeah. And like at what time I'm going to have them the day before the race. But then I guess with some things I sort of, like, luckily for me, I can grab a gel from the aid station that I've never used before, and I know it's not going to mess up my stomach. So yeah, I'm sort of like, I have some things where I'm like obsessed over, and some things where it's like, doesn't matter.
That is a good luxury to have.
It's a good thing to have. And where are you in terms of that fueling, right? I mean, talk about trying to nail fog to a wall. You ask 10 different runners the same question: what's your nutrition strategy? What works for you? And you're going to get probably 15 different answers. Are you sort of, looking at this new stuff that's coming out about the higher grams of carb per hour? Where do you sit on that? What are you thinking?
So I have a nutrition sponsor called Carbs Fuel. I don't think they're over in New Zealand yet, but their gels have 50 grams of carbs per gel. Sort of a slightly neutral, slightly sweet, like donut glaze taste. And
glaze.
I found
how very Massachusetts of you.
Yeah.
Donut glaze.
You get a Dunkin'.
I have never heard something referred to as donut glaze. Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and I can just eat one of those every half hour, and that gets me to 100, and then supplement with drink mix, and I'm probably over 100 grams per hour. I don't know exactly how much I'm getting out of the drinks because I like dilute it a little bit or grab whatever they have at the aid station.
Yeah, I was just having a quick look at them now. To be honest, because they're they relatively normal sized packets. I'm just looking at the picture here.
They're like a little bigger.
Right.
Then, and their other thing is they're $2 per gel, which is...
Yeah, they look cheap as. Well,
yeah,
I'm
like
looking
Martin
in
is
American dollars.
twice that, I think.
Yeah.
And some of those packs are getting pretty big, right? Some of those, like, let's be honest. And for me, like, that's not a problem because I got heaps of stuff to carry or whatever. I'm not trying to break records, but some of those packets, they seem quite cumbersome, right?
Yeah. So it's like, it's bigger than a normal one, but manageable to
yeah, I love the 50 grams in a single thing like that. It's pretty good. Sorry, it sounds like an ad for these guys now. Might have to. I was pretty much sold at donut glaze, I got to be honest.
I got to ask you, and it is on the nutrition tip, but you did note it specially on your website as one of your sort of main things that bring you joy or main interests outside of running. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
donut glaze.
Cookies and cream.
Classic.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
I had some hokey pokey while I was over in New Zealand.
Good man.
You don't get that over here.
Do you think you'll be back in NZ, or you reckon you got what you came for?
I don't think I'll go back next year, but definitely want to go back. I love it there.
Fantastic.
And after, I mean, obviously, Western States is the it's the shining light ahead of you. Do you see? Are you someone who kind of maps out where you want to go with running in terms of, so I want to do this, and then next year I'm going to try for this, or is it? Do you have more sort of passion projects, like in terms of, are you thinking about any more like FKTs or longer missions?
Hard rock. Hard rock.
No, this isn't about you, Andrew. Okay, it's the one Horcrux he's got
I'm just
left.
so jealous he already lives there.
Did you say hard rock?
Yeah, might have.
Yeah. Well, I am probably going to do Ultra Trail Cape Town in November, which is a hard rock qualifier. I actually got pulled on the wait list for hard rock this year.
Oh, really? What number?
But I'm like 40 or 60th or something.
Okay.
I mean, I want to have a good race at UTMB. I raced it in 2023 and it was sort of just a bad experience. I finished, which I'm really proud of, but I was sort of not anywhere close to what I think I'm capable of, and just sort of had a bad attitude in the second half of it. So I'd like to have a good experience there. I want to get the 10 run belt buckle at Leadville. That's sort of my longest term goal because I'm at 3. I'd like to, get 10 over the course of my career, which would mean that I'm running for a long time.
The out and back nature, I've never done a out and back 100 miler. Do you sort of prefer that to a loop course or something like that? I mean, obviously Leadville seems to be something you really enjoy.
Yeah, I was actually just messaging with Sam Harvey about this because last year in the miler at Tarawera, we had the out and back and the 100K and milers were all crisscrossing. It is a little frustrating to have to pass people, but you really get to like experience the community of the event because you see every single person.
Yes.
Over the course of the race, and most of them are encouraging you. So,
in fact, that whole return leg must be quite crazy.
Yeah.
If you're leading the race.
Salmon run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can be pretty cool. My second Leadville, I was sort of struggling going up Hope Pass the second time, and I didn't feel good at all. And what I say is that everyone coming down kept telling me how good I looked, and by the time I got to the top, I believed them.
That's great.
So,
Do you get that thing when people go, "You're looking really good," and you're not feeling very good? Do you get that? Are they just messing with me? Would they tell me the truth if I was if I was looking terrible?
but after enough people tell you it, you got to believe them.
There'd be great crowds at those events. That's one thing I loved. The American crowds, just nothing like it. So positive, so much energy. It really picks you up, if you're having a bit of a down moment in a race. Just go through an aid station and you just get absolutely pumped up.
Yeah.
I would worry I'd get a little bit overwhelmed. You know, what I liked about Tarawera was it was really authentic New Zealand. Like, everyone was really calm and kind, but it is a bit more, it's quite chill. You know, that's quite nice when you come in and they're like, would you like a drink, or would you like, you know, so it's you saying, Andrew, it's like 11 out of 10.
Yeah, I reckon. I mean, my only experience is Western, so Western in general is 11 out of 10. So everyone is pretty high. And of course, the aid stations have so many volunteers. So it's just noisy. But I think it's not like you come around a corner and you're suddenly being screamed at. It's a gentle warm-up. As you get closer and closer, things get louder and louder and louder. So by the time you actually end up there, you've sort of acclimatized, and it's not so bad. I don't know, I thought it was great.
All right. So look, Adrian, it's the afternoon where you are. It's actually the day before. So we'll let you get on with your day. You've been so generous, and it was so nice to hang out with you. It was really nice to stand with you. For me, it was really nice to stand with you at the Porphyry. I really valued that. And just going to ask you the question that we ask every single human being who comes on Dirt Church Radio, and that's, Adrian MacDonald, what's been your greatest run ever?
Greatest run ever. And can it be a race?
It could be whatever you want. It's your greatest run ever.
Let's see. I will, since we've already talked about Leadville so much, I can give you another
You
one.
can
and
say Leadville.
No, give us another one. Go on.
And it goes back to like one of those moments where I do something where I never thought that my body could do that. And so this goes when I was running in college. It goes back to my junior year, and we were doing this cross country workout, and one of my teammates was running it too fast. The coach got mad at him. He was running 31-second 200s, and the coach got mad at him. And he was a bit of a hothead, and he said, "Oh, I could run 31s all day." And so that next spring, we went out to the track, and it was Easter break, and the coach said, "Oh, just do any workout you want." So we said, "How many 31s can we run with a minute rest?"
Oh my goodness.
It was just the two of us. He ended up dropping at 16, and I think I got up to 27. And so then,
It's 2:30 pace.
Yeah.
Doing the maths.
And so anyways, that track season was not very good. But then the next winter, my senior year, I went to the Armory, which is an indoor track in New York City, to run a mile. And at the time, my PR was 4:16. And I went out there. The first 209 meters was 32. And then I ran 31, 31, 31, 31, 31, 31, 31, and ran a 4:12 mile. And sort of, yeah, it was just sort of like an amazing, perfect race.
And you were holding that pace that you've
Yeah.
done in that training. Gee.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So don't skimp
and
on
I-
your interval and speed work, people.
Yeah.
Hit the track, get out there. It's good
Do your
for you.
31-second 200-meter runs.
I don't know if I could do one.
I don't know if I could get that fast if you threw me off a cliff. Terminal velocity. Look,
I remember a bit, sorry to cut you
No.
off quickly, Matt, but I just quickly remembered a story in Arthur Lydiard's book about how he could turn anyone into an Olympian so long as they could run a 32-second 200 meters without any training. I thought that was a hell of
No, I
a
think it
caveat.
yeah.
It was because I saw who was his. Is it Barry McGee?
Yeah.
Ran. I saw him speak in Boston, and it was 25 seconds.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, because I remember because my PR in the 200 was 24:97.
Oh, so you thought there's a chance I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm off to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Well, yours sounds more accurate than mine. Something tells me I need to read the book again.
Fantastic. Look, thanks, Adrian, so much for coming on Dirt Church Radio.
Yeah,
We
this
really
is
appreciate
great.
it. And yeah, good luck for Western States. We'll be following along very, very closely.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Global pandemic ruining everyone's plans since ages ago. Funny how just a little tweak, from being like a road focused person and then you can't run road marathons anymore, just kind of can turn your life in mysterious and wonderful ways.
Yeah, look where it's led for him.
I know. It's pretty, I mean, it's if there is a small silver lining, certainly, yeah. But, it was cool to talk to Adrian because he's a real, he's super thoughtful and he comes across as, quite reserved, but super cool. And I got to hang out with him at the Poor Hitty as well. That was really choice. And just, you get the sense that he's not someone who phones anything in, like everything is, he's
No, I'd
very
imagine that.
kind of, he's soaking it in. So, right. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. Dirt Church Radio is presented by me, Matt Raymond,
Ali Pottinger.
and Andrew MacDonald. We're on all the podcast platforms, so like, follow, and give us a rating. It really helps. And we're on social media at Dirt Church Radio, and you can email us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com.
Don't forget to sign up to our Substack for weekly newsletter and aid station podcast. And don't forget to write in with your greatest run ever. We'd love to hear from you, and you can read them on the website too. And thanks to our supporters, Further Faster, That's It, Squadron, and our Substack subscribers and the DCR aid station crew.
Stay tuned for our show in 2 weeks when we have another great guest lined up. Mā te wā.